No matter how high the number, a bribe is still a bribe. Welcome back. Thanks for stopping by Two Hands and a Foot. We won't tell you who's who. But before we get started today, as always, go ahead and click that like button. Click that subscribe button. And then click that notification bell so you don't ever miss an episode. But most importantly now, go ahead and share this with all your friends so they can get in on the fun. Let's get into it. Yes, you probably read the news today. A little thing happening in November. It's called the presidential election. I don't know if you know about that, but sometime in November we will have a day where we go to what we call polls, and we will punch ticket right in, mark whatever we got to do to express our vote for who we think we want to be president. Now, up until just recently, we had three main candidates for president. That would be President Trump. And then the next one would be the Democratic Party, would be the Kamala Harris. And then running as an independent was Robert Kennedy Jr. And so just recently, as you probably have heard, if not, surprise, RFK Jr. has suspended his campaign, and he has fully endorsed President Trump. Now, the surface level of that seems to be okay. It's awesome. It's fine. He and Trump agree on a couple of things. The big pharma issues. The whole thing with the jam we had a few years ago. Plaguing us. The wars, the foreign wars that are occurring. Those types of things. RFK Jr. was a champion for, as far as aligning with President Trump's ideologies there, you could say. My thing is this, is I get it, I understand, and I appreciate what he's doing, is he's trying to push a candidate in order to alleviate the pressure of potentially hurting the chances of removing the current administration from office. So he's doing something that he thinks is good for the nation, and I understand that. I appreciate that. But we have to remember that still at heart, RFK Jr. is a very, very diehard Democrat, which does not fit with a lot of conservative principles. So as we might cheer the action, we still need to consider the person himself, someone who does not align with conservative values. So if you are a conservative person, keep that in mind as you, yes, maybe cheer on this endorsement of President Trump and his campaign. Just remember, though, he still is a Democrat, and a lot of whose core values do not sit well with the conservative venue of people. That being said, hey, who knows what this brings as far as President Trump's campaign. A lot of people may think it brings a lot of energy to it and a lot of smartness and wit to it. I would agree. And who knows, maybe he has a position on Trump's cabinet or somewhere in the federal government in order to assist in Trump's original pledge of draining the swamp. We shall see. But for now, yes, you heard that right. RFK Jr. has suspended his campaign and is fully endorsing President Trump. Along those same lines, the vice presidential nominee, or the nominee for the vice president on the Republican ticket, is J.D. Vance. I'm not going to go into his whole story. You can look it up. It's out there for people to see. There's a book. There's a movie off of the book. There's a lot of controversy with all that. There's that cat lady statement he made. Okay, whatever. It is what it is. And I may or may not comment on him at a later date and time. But I will say this on one of his positions. One of his positions is this, is that he believes that the child tax credit needs to be raised to $5,000. And he says so because he wants to incentivize having more kids. That's the position he stated. Now, I have a couple of things that I believe are wrong with that statement. One, I believe Lyndon Johnson tried to incentivize having kids, at one point in time, and that endorsed single motherhood. The more kids you have, the more money you're going to get because you're going to be, on welfare and such. Now, tax credit and welfare, two different things, and you get it in a two-parent household versus a one-parent household regardless. I understand those differences, but here's the deal, is that $5,000 comes from somebody. It isn't just poof, like any other tax credit you get, it comes from somebody. So you're essentially paying yourself back the money that you're paying in taxes to get that money back. And so then you're doing more, you're taking more that could be used for other things that taxes may be good for, like roads and services. Two, what has to happen, what I think should happen, and I think can happen, and potentially with another Trump presidency, is having an economy that works to the point where you don't have to need child tax credits. That the economy is so big and so huge and working so well that you don't need to depend on tax credits to help you partially through your year. That you keep all of your money, more of your money, so that you don't have to worry about, hey, at the end of that year, am I going to get $5,000 per kid? To get there, all of that money is staying in my pocket because the economy is booming, and I can spend that money on what I deem necessary for it. And then two, ideologically speaking, you should never incentivize having kids because of money or a lack thereof. The incentive for having kids should always be making another generation that is better than the one that you are currently in. Leaving a legacy, an inheritance of good character, not monetary or physical in nature as far as an inheritance goes. One that is good character there waiting for them to continue. So you shouldn't have to worry about money when it comes to kids. With that economy, you should be able to judge how much you should be able to afford, or you can be able to afford, without a tax incentive. And the economy should be good enough to where you can want to have as many kids as you desire, because you wanted to pass on a very, very good legacy, so that 2 or 3 generations down the line, when you're finally good and gone, that your name still remains in good standing in your family. That should be the incentive for children, not $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, or the Democrats trying to steal it with $6,000 per child. That's one of those things where I tend to disagree, spouting off things that sound good, but in reality aren't necessarily good. I could go on with a lot of other things that I don't think that sit well with me when it comes to J.D. Vance. Now, will that sway my vote? As we see currently, the person sitting in the seat of the vice president doesn't do much anyway. And we may see a change in that. Who knows? Is it setting him up for a 2028 run? I hope not. And I say this not against him personally, but I hope not. I hope he's not on the ticket in 2028. I really do hope he's not on the ticket in 2028. Again, that I may have to go on another discussion about him. But for now, child tax credit, let's not incentivize having kids for money, please. Now to the topic that you all are probably looking at and going, what in the world? Yes, I do have an Indiana Fever jersey, specifically a Caitlin Clark jersey on. The WNBA is back in session after the month-long break for the less than enthusiastic Olympics. Now, why do I mention that? Because the only reason why anybody is watching the WNBA or caring about the WNBA is because of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. So far, after the break, the Fever are 2-0. Caitlin Clark is averaging like 26 some odd points a game, doing wonders over there. And people are still upset that she is the main attraction for the WNBA. And I still have not seen an article about the commissioner for the WNBA coming out at any point in time saying anything about Caitlin Clark and the perceived or the seen treatment of Caitlin Clark. Now, we can go on a tangent about a number of things as far as like the Olympics are concerned or what have you, but honestly, the reality is this, people. And I say this to the members of the players in the WNBA. They are watching you because of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the draw for all of these sold-out venues. I was reading an article the other day that the Connecticut Sun were ticked off at the fact that there wasn't a lot of hubbub about their game in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. That the WNBA has had over a year to plan for it. And, oh my gosh, they're not paying attention to us playing in the city of Boston. Okay, you have half of a gripe. I'll give you half of a gripe at this point, and I'll whittle it down from there. Yes, they had a year to plan, or more to plan because the schedule's put out a year in advance. Obviously, a year ago, they had not really an idea as to the impact that Caitlin Clark would have on the WNBA. They knew obviously she'd be coming, but not understanding what the effect would be of her coming to the WNBA. And then two, Caitlin Clark isn't on the Connecticut Sun or on the team that they were playing in Boston, for that matter. So the idea that you are somehow bigger than Caitlin Clark right now is hogwash. If I were the members of the WNBA, I would hop on this bandwagon. I would, because it's going to save your league. You might actually not have to depend on the NBA anymore for your finances because of Caitlin Clark. I got a jersey because of Caitlin Clark and how transformative she has been for the WNBA. Now, she's a baller. She is a baller. She started off a little on, not so solid ground, but she has turned into a very, very solid professional basketball player. She's always been a great basketball player. She could, run circles around me when it comes to that. But she is the draw. WNBA. She is the draw. So if you want to put anything up, if you want to elevate anything, hop on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon and see where it can take you. Quit biting the hand that feeds you. Again, for the first time in the history of the WNBA, they may be able to get out of having to have the NBA pay for your guys' salaries. And you may be able to move and actually have a league that's worthwhile watching. But until you stop this infighting and complaining and the treatment that you give to Caitlin Clark when she's on the floor, maybe, just maybe, you won't have what you want. But you got to get over that. So I proudly support Caitlin Clark. I still don't have access or desire to watch the WNBA at this point. I'll have to admit from this standpoint, but I have the jersey because I stand with Caitlin Clark and the fact that she is doing something that no one else up until this point in the history of the WNBA has been able to do, is draw attention to the league. And I'm pretty sure that there are probably millions more people who are watching that haven't watched before. And if we can continue to go along that track, maybe, who knows, maybe I'll end up following the WNBA. Well, that's all I have for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Again, please go ahead and like this, subscribe, notify yourself, share this with all your friends. You can find me on just about everything: Instagram, X, Patreon. You can go there and find all of those things for me. But just share this with everybody. Again, like I said, that's all I have for today. I hope you have a really good afternoon, evening, night, midnight snack, or morning, wherever happens to be, as long as it's good. And I'll catch you on the flip side.